We're recording.
I'm keeping that in. So anyway, hi, and welcome to episode 7. We've made it to episode
Holy
7.
smokes.
7 episodes we've done this.
Wow.
And
That's like a whole week.
I know, that's like one. If you're listening to this in a whole week, you got a week stamp for every day. A week for every day. A day for every day of the week.
A week stamp for every day? What?
Yeah. Well, welcome to the most informed podcast you'll listen to. Natural One's Bardic Inspiration Podcast. Featuring me, Dave, but also Bard. And you.
And me.
What's your name? What's your name, bro?
I'm just your friendly neighborhood Will.
I also call him Bilbo, and that's a term of endearment because Bilbo's my favorite. So, anyway, welcome. And today we're going to talk about today in D&D. Can you imagine that, like 1940s,
Yeah.
like
Coming to you
live
from our studios in Utah.
Just some weird guy that like has cling. You're like, no, not yet. You know, they had the sound effect guys.
They just had a Foley guy on standby.
Just some guy standing. There's a bunch of different.
Okay,
props.
what footsteps?
You're doing great, Jim.
Woman screaming, yay! Anyways,
Let's do this.
we're discussing Liafrith.
No, we're
that
not.
how we're
We're talking
announcing
about
that?
the descent into Avernus.
Oh, yeah, this week in D&D. Yeah.
That was it. The artist, just that mentioned. It's happening here.
Oh, yeah.
Well-
So what? We've got a new book from Wizards.
Yeah, we failed to mention it. We kind of mentioned it, but we didn't really go into it.
It's newish.
It's a month
Yeah.
and a half. Whatever. It's new. It's the
Close
newest
enough to
version.
know, yeah.
Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, which is basically we're going to hell to kill the demons.
A city of ambition and corruption. You've just started your adventuring career, but already find yourself embroiled in a plot that sprawls from the shadows of Baldur's Gate to the front lines of the plains-spanning blood war.
Which is pretty intense. If you know anything about the Blood War, it's just nonstop.
Archdevil Zariel and her diabolical hordes. Yeah.
And couldn't you ever hope to find your
Baldur's
way?
Gate is like
know
the
what?
most screwed up city.
Dude, no kidding.
In
Waterdeep and
Faerun.
Baldur's Gate is just
Like everything happens there.
don't go there. There's so many places in the world.
Right.
I'm sorry. Dungeons and Dragons, Wizard of the Coast, we love you and we love the stuff you put out. But there's
Why is everything in Baldur's Gate?
There's a whole world out there. Is it
Yeah.
because it's recognizable?
Probably. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Speaking of Baldur's Gate, they just re-enhanced the game and released it on new platforms again.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm playing it, but
Not the online one. You remember Baldur's Gate like on the consoles?
I have
the dungeon
that.
crawlers.
I have them. Yeah, I played
Yeah.
like 6 episodes.
Yeah,
well, 3
they
episodes on
they
the
enhanced
channel.
them and just released them again.
I did horribly. I've never played it before. I
Yeah.
always wanted to.
Oh yeah. Well, in Baldur's Gate 2, they have Drist and Artemis Entreri and some of those guys as playable characters after you beat the game.
I have that one.
Yeah.
I want to play it
Yeah.
more now.
Yeah.
I'm really into Drist at the moment because
Yeah.
I think he's super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool character. Well done.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that book is out. You can go get it. It's
Available
obviously
for $49.95.
It's not bad.
Hardcover.
And they also have the alternate cover, which is really like super dark and cool.
Yeah.
It's a big skull. Anyway, what I would recommend, and I actually, if you know this, which you may not know this, some people are like, I don't know if I want to get this one because it's too devilly. You know what it says in their thing? It actually specifically mentions we do not endorse any like witchcraft or demon worship or anything like that because all the horrible
Back in the
things.
day,
Yeah.
people who play D&D are devil worshippers.
So
yeah.
they specifically mentioned that, but they also said we're actually encouraging like basically our players to kill demons and fight evil and overcome it. Basically, just like a big screw you to the people that are like, oh, you shouldn't do that because it's dark. It's like, guys, good versus evil. You want us to not fight evil? Because that's what we're doing. Anyway.
It looks like they've also got a box set that they released with it.
The box set looks
Set of
sick.
dice, a map, some cards, some Blood War demons and devils sizing charts.
And they look like old school too. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks like,
Like early
old
days.
art. It looks cool.
Which I kind of like that
Yeah.
retro look. I thought it said elven dice, but it said 11.
11.
Which makes
yeah.
more sense because that's how many dice you're going to get. Anyway, that's the news.
That's the news. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
So, in today's 7th episode, what are we talking about today, Jim?
Oh, yes. We well,
We kind of already
we
spilled
already
the beans.
said, yes.
We spilled the beans, Leafrith.
Yeah, so for those of you that got ahead of the curve
You're welcome
from listening
to his words at the beginning,
earlier, instead of skipping into the 3rd minute,
which is probably a very good choice on many.
5th minute.
It's probably a very good choice, in fact. But
Yeah.
on that note, we definitely want to go over some things, guys.
Yeah.
We think
Yeah.
that it's important that you know that we're still sponsored by Incarnate. you need to
He says disappointedly.
I just want to throw it in because I didn't think anyone would think I would say that there. No, seriously, Incarnate is awesome. Go check them out. I seriously couldn't recommend them more. Even though we're sponsored by them, I don't want you to take that because when I hear
We
people
were
that are
talking about
sponsored by
them
them,
since before they were sponsors.
yeah, we were hipsters with Incarnate. We liked them before. Anyway, definitely go check them out. Pro is just by far the best version of it so far. They have some new stuff coming out. They've announced it with me. They told me to test some things out and show off the maps, and I'm going to start posting more of them. And it's going to be amazing, and you're going to love it. And if you don't, that's fine because you might not make maps. You might not be a DM, but honestly, it's fun to just screw around and get some ideas too. So if you want to like write fantasy or write books, they're really easy to use. Anyway, so that's our little spiel there. But now we're going to get into the fluff and...
For those of you that don't know, we have been developing out various kingdoms throughout the kingdoms
The last three.
Andaman.
2.5. Yeah, we have been. And we really decided that we want to flesh out the world some more. So we're doing the last 2.5. Right, I say half because we just started. It's barely even a half. We're like 8 minutes in. But I mean, we want to make this world seem like a livable, real place. Putting some dots on a map and naming them is something I can do in a second, which is exactly what I did. But we're now making this place seem real. We have tundra. We've talked about the grassy plains and a lake city, and we've also talked about the
Island.
Capri-like Italian coast-looking place with gnome
Inhabited by
servants
gnomes.
and Sverfniblin.
Yeah. As well as the upper class society.
Well, that's not to mention them, the dirtbags of the world, but also a whole bunch of like guilds and cool stuff that we're going to add to it. And also not to mention the people across the way that were like dark elves above ground living by a volcano, very Morrowind inspired for sure.
Yeah.
But also their goddess, half kraken loth creature. Anyway,
Which is, I mean, there's got to be some terrifying artwork that we can come up with for that.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Oh.
And then today, it is going to be something completely different. It is actually the same. We're building more places.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you'll turn your attention to the map, Natural One Official on Instagram, you can go and see that there is a map, which is called the Kingdoms of Andaman, year 176. Why are you whispering into the mic, you psycho?
Dang it, you ruined my plot.
What? I didn't hear what you said.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it when I'm editing this thing. Dang it. But no, we're talking about this new place. We kind of, very, 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 very vaguely talked about what it could be.
Yeah.
But then we got excited with just a slight mention of something, and we're like, okay, all right. What is this land? Talk about it.
Well, we kind of talked about maybe making this sort of Australia.
But like the Australia that people didn't want.
Yeah.
They were
Well, I
basically-
mean, how Australia started. When,
That's what we mean. Not
when
Australia today.
Britain sent all of their convicts.
Yeah.
Rather than dealing with them in prisons, they just abandoned them on an island.
Which is really an interesting choice. At least it was very like, I can't say humane.
At least they could restart their lives instead of being stuck in a jail till they died.
But also how horrible the lawless society. Can you imagine trying to tame
It'd be Mad Max.
it straight up
That's probably where that idea came from.
and the Australian accents?
Huh?
The game. Anyway,
The movie was too.
I did-
the Mel Gibson one.
I didn't see the movie.
That's all Australian.
I know, it's horrible. But yeah, we want it to be very lawless. I mean, not that being said, we are in Andaman, which is currently under a robotocracy in a very Lord of the Rings and Conan type world.
Yeah.
So this place is essentially going to be just free for all. Like, there's probably major factions and gangs, right?
Could be, yeah.
Like underground. You're part of this group, you know?
If it were like a free for all kind of a place, it would have to be like an unobserved or unknowingly observed if it is observed.
Well, his whole idea when creating the peace, veneration, and if you don't remember what that is, please go back and listen. So, in creating the peace, he would have probably just wiped out, because what he did, he would wipe out people that would continue fighting. So maybe this is the sort of like everywhere's at peace. These guys just continue to create problems. Or maybe if you are found guilty of murder, extortion, some kind of crime that's pretty serious, slavery that's not an Andorran, something that just isn't allowed, you are shipped to the kingdom of Shiakra.
Yeah, so
It could be like a death sentence.
the type of crime that's not necessarily going to attract a veneration event.
Right, which is basically finding out about him.
Yeah.
These people are the society that just like, we shouldn't kill anymore. Etheridge, they kill for fun. They have an arena for it. But I mean, like, there's certain areas. We wanted to keep it pretty uniform, but I feel like this area could just be a free-for-all.
Yeah.
They could just leave it. As long as they don't cross the water. And they probably have...
Border
it's magic.
security.
It's magic. Let's face it. Magic can...
They built the wall a long time ago.
They did. And maybe it's just a magic barrier and they have a bunch
Fries
of...
anything that touches it.
You know what? Maybe they have a bunch of metallic rings around their necks that if they cross this barrier, they die.
Maybe it's like the magic control that we already kind of discussed. Maybe it's just like a tattooed ward that keeps them there.
Like power word kill is tattooed on their arms. And if they cross
it only
that,
triggers
it
if
triggers
they...
it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's super dark, but I really kind of love that. So, cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
I really like that. It's like an enchantment that gets triggered if they try to cross.
They pass a line.
They can go in the water. They can fish. They can.
It's like a shock collar for dogs.
Right, but with an immediate death sentence.
Yeah.
All right. Oh my goodness. Gosh, this is why I like doing this. is we come up with these ideas that are just like, what? Where did this come from? I love it. Let's do it. So, okay, that's canon. So what kind of people are we looking at?
Well, I mean, on top of the criminals, they, somebody's extremely
aggressive races, maybe
purist, Aryan race.
Okay, so
hates
like
mudbloods, like in Harry Potter, Slytherins.
So like a Hitler-esque. Okay, I can see that kind of regime that controls this whole world. That's like, you know what? There's a lot of racism in the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of fights come from, you're different from me, which is actually freaking accurate.
And it's horrible. We could probably...
Horrible, but so is slavery.
We don't have to necessarily do this right now or on the podcast, but we could come up with some sort of base in how veneration was created that had something to do with maybe like a racial war or conflict.
Well, the whole world was in a war, in a chaos. So maybe it
was like a prince and a princess from different nations that were different races had a half child together, and that's kind of what maybe initiated a huge
stupid crazy
problem.
Southern uncle. I'm just kidding. I'm just like trying to find South Germany. I'm just kidding. No, I'm trying to think of like how, if you're talking about like how Hitler did his horribleness.
Yeah.
He selected people
he
that
was
weren't...
being a purist, what he thought the ideal
which
human
ironically
was.
he was not even close to, so I don't know why. Anyway, crazy people do crazy stuff. I think we've mentioned Hitler on several occasions because of...
Well, veneration is an extremist.
He is an extremist, so it fits.
Yeah.
And it probably... any monetization that could be possible, just mentioning the guy. We'll call him Captain Papa. I don't know. I feel like, that can work. I feel like that's a good point, is that a lot of and it's horrible. We're not talking about ideal because this is
No,
horrible. This
no.
world is in a state of wrong. There's nothing right about it.
Yeah.
It has and that's what we want our characters to feel when they come to this dark, horrible place.
There's a lot of things
because
that don't like.
It seems good on the surface, but once you look even slightly deeper, you realize that there's people that aren't here.
The
that should be.
moral is weird. It's
People
not.
disappear all the time and are shipped off to Shiakra to die or live a life of horrible, like maybe I should join this faction to live type thing. Because that would totally happen.
Yeah.
One guy would be like, I am now the Pirate King. You know,
Right,
like,
yeah.
and everyone's like, you're the Pirate King, and I'm
Hurrah for the Pirate King! Hurrah for the Pirate King!
well, less Penzance, but more just like I like where you're going with that though. It's true.
Yeah, no, 'cause
Races cause.
Veneration's extremely dogmatic, and we talked about like how maybe when he was created,
He looked for the simple solution, which
he was
isn't the best.
given just a random simple solution, which has carried out over centuries or however old
And
he
as
is.
horrible as it is, that I can see that happening.
And it could have created this situation like in Liafrith, where all of the half-racial creatures
Separating
are
races
sent.
and creatures from each other
Yeah,
is probably
they're considered on the same level. If you're a half breed, you're just as bad as this murderer or rapist that
right.
we sent to this island.
And as horrible as that sounds, and I know there's so many people that are like triggered, but like
Right.
seriously though, we're not talking about us. Our
No.
views of the world, we freaking love everyone and we don't care about that crap.
Right.
But like we're talking about world creation.
yeah.
We're not talking about our beliefs. And I feel like it's such a stupid thing that I have to mention that. But it's so true. People get like, well, if you said it. It's like, no, we're creating a world.
We're drawing from both fiction that we know as well as history that we know.
We've read a lot of history too. So
It's-
history repeats itself. And the reason why things happen is because people do horrible crap and they're racist. There's a lot of in history. You look different from me, so you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You look similar to
You're
me,
gonna
so
die,
we're gonna conquer
or you're
you.
going to be my slave,
Yeah.
or all that.
I mean, look at like huge expansionist societies and empires. They would be like, you look similar to us. You're now ours.
Yeah.
And other people would be like, well, they're not. They're part of our society. No, you look different. We're killing you. You know, I
right.
mean, that's
Yeah.
stupid,
Yeah.
but it's so accurate.
The pigmentation in your hair and skin is different than mine.
I know.
Time to die.
Same race.
Yeah.
Same exact. And that's what's funny. And D&D, that kind of just goes away. But
Yeah.
especially like human races. We're all the same race.
Right.
Funny how in D&D, they get it.
Yeah.
You're the same freaking race.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Well, you look slightly different. So does that ugly man on the street corner, but he's not. Sorry. But anyway, I feel like that could be a totally acceptable thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not like certain ones like.
Maybe at first, a lot of people would have been like, that's weird, but
That's horrible.
Veneration has such a strong fisted way of handling things that
And I feel like the
world
reason
eventually just caved to his point of
they
view.
probably did because one, they're forced, but
Right.
two, they realize that wars continue.
Yeah.
They will start, just like they always have before.
Yeah.
Sacrifices had to be made, which is much like any militaristic regime. They're just like, we have to do this. If we don't do this, then it's going to happen again and again and again, and then millions of people will die. So they're thinking, I mean, especially like elves and humans, they probably were like, well, they're pure, most of them, because they're elves.
Right.
And elves are pretty darn pure. But maybe like half orcs, which if you really think about what happened with half orcs,
Yeah.
freaking messed up.
Right.
So maybe they're thinking, well, they're like spawns of very aggressive, horrible creatures.
Which means
Which
no
means
matter
that
how
no matter
they
what
come
you
out,
do,
they're
gonna
created out of hate.
they're gonna cause conflict in towns or are peaceful because they'll come in and people will be afraid of stupid stuff like that.
So like half orcs or dragonborn.
Anything that looks creepy, I think that they would just automatically send there.
Like
Tieflings.
kobolds, tieflings.
Look at tieflings, 100%. Do you think tieflings would have any rights in this world?
It's not coming to me right now, but like the crow people.
Kenku.
Kenku, yeah.
So many, I would imagine the interesting races would be there.
Yeah.
The ones that are like honestly some of the funnest to play.
Yeah.
Which would actually create a really cool place to start.
Right.
And I know we talk about that in every one, different places to start. You could be in a prison camp inside this place that even a keeper is just like there.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, look, you can do what you want here, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
Like, because that's how he is. He's kind of a power hungry psycho. But no, like Genasi and different things that are kind of from different realms and stuff. They're just kind of like just shove them in there. Arakakra, the flying like bird people. I mean, they would all be thrown in. I imagine. I don't think like dwarves, elves, humans. Your
not as much.
Your vanilla characters.
Yeah.
Even gnomes that aren't in Andorran, halflings I think are fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they would be all over the place in the normal world, but I feel like if you're a half-orc, a tiefling, any of those other creatures,
Yeah. Dragonborn.
minotaurs, I mean, anything, it's all there.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of stuff. He just
Which would be kind of cool. Like everything is a half breed of something. Like
it's actually really cool. And I think the only
Makes me
reason
think
I'd
of
say
the-
half elves and half a human, half elf,
uh-huh.
I honestly think it's just because they're touched by Fae. There's like a lightness to them.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily good people, and I'm not saying that. But I mean,
Right.
like, to an extent, they seem... I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We can throw them there, too.
Well, they could easily pass as probably humans
One or the other.
if that's what they wanted to do.
Well, same with elves. To elves,
Yeah.
they look like humans. To humans, they look like
Yeah.
elves. That's how it's described.
I feel like that's pretty common too in like fantasy literature or media. Like,
It's
oh,
acceptable.
they're a half elf and they just chopped off the tops of their ears so that they look like a human, kind of a thing. Like, if they really wanted to, they
Kinda
could
like
pass
in
themselves
that,
off.
What is it, Amazon? Someone did a thing. So I think it was Amazon Prime, where they had that show they're doing right now with the fairies and it's with Orlando Bloom. And,
Oh yeah.
forget her name.
Carnival Row.
Yeah, Carnival Row.
Uh-huh.
It's very just like if they want to fit in with society, they just cut their wings off.
Yeah.
And it's horrible and
Yeah.
awful as that is for them. They can totally do that.
Right.
And I mean, it's like the same type of thing as where they show up in this place. I mean, they could go anywhere they want. Just file down your ears a little bit.
Right. So if it,
I don't know if it'd be against the law.
the thought of Mad Max got into my head, would
Well,
it
it
be,
is very
would it be
Conan.
that degree of lawlessness? You think?
I imagine the Conan portion of the world would fit very well.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, obviously they're not driving vehicles and worshiping.
No, I know
mechanical
exactly.
gods
I
and
know
stuff.
what you mean. The boom booms. No, I think what you're on the right thing there. Very lawless,
Yeah,
tribal, because this is devolved.
Thunderdome.
This has been happening for a long time.
Yeah,
This isn't like yesterday. Oh, we just shipped
Right.
you off here. There's new people
Yeah.
all the time. Every day there's shipments of people coming in
Yeah.
and various humanoids. But I feel like this place would be just like a freaking haven for just lawless psychos.
so there's probably like a psychopath at the head of things right now.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Maybe genius level. I imagine a Joker.
yeah, could be.
I
mean,
imagine exactly a Joker.
Yeah.
Like almost copy paste with some differences, obviously.
it could even be like smaller territories with people like
I
that.
would like gangs. It's huge.
It'd be
Look
cool
at
if
that
like
place.
it'd be cool if like the biggest gang maybe was being headed by a psychopath like that.
Well, because the world is law.
Yeah,
This place is not
Yeah.
even close, which is kind of the idea.
yeah,
Because it's like you create a balance without murdering everybody.
Yeah.
Which I think, because on the illusion of it,
Right.
because people would only agree to that sort of stuff if there was some sort of like there is a life down there. Maybe the whole world believes it's a lie. Maybe the whole world thinks they've been told a lie that it's actually. It's a horrible place because you're not with your friends and family, but it's a livable place and it is beautiful.
I would think for the characters to have a way of getting in here and having any sense of maneuvering around without killing everything that breathes, that maybe they could be interacting with somebody who's like, oh, I can get you in with my gang kind of a thing.
Well, it would actually be fun because what if they started, and this would be the probably only exception to the prison because it is a prison.
Yeah. I mean, the island is a prison.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so I feel like they would start with nothing. I'd like them to start with just
loincloth.
I would roll. I would actually make a few things because if you look at and I know I mentioned this on so many different things.
The
in
Abyss.
formats, they start with nothing.
Yeah.
Little bits of string, shiv, and a coin. You know what I mean? Like, and like everyone starts with just nothing. Bare
So
bones.
you could start like heavy survivalist
It would be
if the characters
awesome.
started.
Can
here.
you
Yeah.
imagine? Can you imagine starting in a place where everyone is a potential
Everything that
threat?
lives and breathes wants to kill you.
And the people at one point probably were decent people that did horrible things or made mistakes.
Yeah.
Or were just the race.
Uh-huh.
You know, which is stupid, but that's what happened. And so there's factions that are super lawful. I imagine there's people that are just like, no, we're
People
just
who want order.
like,
yeah.
and I would say like half orcs are like, you know, at the head of like a many like noble people that are just like, no, we were a good people before
Yeah.
they threw us here.
Yeah.
We just happen to be the product of.
Half orcs would probably be among the more cunning too. Besides being strong, they would also,
And tieflings as well.
tieflings. Yeah.
Tieflings can be very, very intellectual
Yeah.
and intelligent, and
But they would
charismatic.
probably be more on the chaotic end too.
I feel like you're right on that.
Yeah.
I was actually just about to change my mind there because think
Yeah.
about think of like criminal underbelly.
Yeah.
Like I imagine they'd be really good at like getting things and
yeah.
assassinations
Right.
and things like that.
And it's like, well, Dragonborn, they would be
Very
a
warlike.
force to be reckoned with, but
I think I would like that whole like.
probably not quite as cunning as an orc maybe would be.
I'd say like the west portion, like that claw section of you see the Kingdom of Chakra.
Uh-huh.
I imagine that whole area just down to the south and north of there is just all like Dragonborn clans.
Yeah.
They're just like
They're all-
super like
They're all like clanned up together.
yeah. They're just like we will kill you.
Yeah.
Don't come over here. Which would create some cool tension between and like some battles between different places.
So I wonder if the players didn't start on this island, like
How would they get here?
how would they get there?
Prison.
Prison,
Thrown in.
prison, yeah.
But the whole
like the
problem-
episode 0, like they would get shipped there after doing.
and they would
something,
have the
maybe.
mark power would kill.
Yeah.
But the whole like first part of that campaign would be how to remove it,
Yeah,
which would
figuring
be
out how to
to
remove it.
kill the keeper and take his power to remove it.
Yeah,
Which would be a really hard thing to do, but this place would build your level up fast.
Yeah, 'cause
because
you'd
you're
be fighting
constantly
constantly.
doing stuff. And I feel like that would be a really cool aspect to start in, and actually, really now kind of want to. Every one of these places, man, we
Yeah.
need to play more D&D. I can create a whole campaign off of just one of these places,
right.
just one of them, and we have a
Yeah.
whole world of them, which is so fun. That's what we're here
Yeah,
for
that's the
you.
point. Yeah.
And I hope you're enjoying this too. Some of you have been religiously watching this, so thank you. But yeah,
So, would there be like, what kind of commerce would there be in a place
Trade,
like this?
and they'd probably
And
make up their
how-
own currency.
How would yeah?
They probably, like-
bottle caps and Fallout. kind
That's
of a
actually
thing.
the same line I was thinking
Yeah.
of. Instead of like coins, they'd probably find a certain mineral or polished rock, a rock on the continent that wasn't very popular, but it was like different polished stones with markings on them.
Yeah.
Like maybe something that's easily. Oh no, they could easily fake that.
What would be? I
That's-
mean, obviously, weapons would be a really valuable resource. Maybe they're more of a
they're hard to come by.
bartering.
forges-
Maybe they're more of a bartering society, and they don't really want a currency per se.
I think that a huge portion of like currency could come from like a clan or a guild or a tribe that has a forge. They found
Yeah,
a metal, like some kind of iron output,
Yeah.
and they mined it and turned it into ore and made actual weapons. So maybe they're like the head of like this whole world, this section of the world, because they have the power.
Right.
But everyone's buying it and giving them like, oh, we'll be on your side, or like they'll. I feel like different treaties would come through here. So I feel like the seat of power would be within a bunch of creators, like crafters,
Yeah.
because they would be the most valuable.
So,
they'd probably be
yeah.
enslaved.
A craft artisan
Eventually.
guild would be the
They'd have to have some pretty heavy security,
yeah.
which would mean different races like a bunch of lizard folk.
Maybe
or
they
dragonborn.
manufactured armor, and they're the only ones on the island who have it, unless somebody killed them and took it from them.
Which
But-
would actually be really cool for your characters to start to gather items from people. And obviously there would be magic, but limited.
I'll trade you this string for that knife handle.
And I feel like level 1 would be great here, even though it sounds like it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because obviously you could keep your people out of like the worst harm's way right away. Get like a starting area.
Right.
But like your simple quest could start with just like getting a shipment of ore back from this like tribe of orcs.
Yeah.
Like
So the
straight up
general
orcs.
currency would be either a metal that could be forged into a weapon or a weapon itself.
Actually, I kind of would think, I actually think the main race that would control here is orcs. Not half orcs, just straight up orcs.
Full orcs.
Full orcs.
So all orcs are sent to Liafrith.
Which is would make it
Shakria.
it would make it one of the predominant races,
Yeah.
which most of them were wiped out because
Yeah.
it was like you're warlike, you're basically monsters.
Yeah.
We're gonna kill you. But I think a big portion probably came from there already, and they had some kind of foothold.
Maybe ogres would also be here on this island if that's kind of how things would be treated.
Kind of would like that because ogres are
Yeah.
an easy-ish target for new players.
Yeah.
But feel good to fight because they're
Right, 'cause
larger.
yeah.
And so I totally think that.
Yeah. Huh. So these people who control the tradable goods, what would their city look like? What would their
My original idea, and we could still change this, but my original idea with like Liafrith was it's very nomadic looking. But it's in like a tree-like area. It's very swampy. This whole island is very just like crap. It's just like no one would want to live there for real. There's a lot of like crocodiles and horrible creatures that just kind of were left, not destroyed like most of Veneration. His
Way too many
keepers,
mosquitoes.
They kill. Oh yeah, an uncomfortable amount of mosquitoes. We've both been in situations like that all night. And it's like right on your
if
ear.
you don't have a fan, you're done.
If you don't have a mosquito net, then you just want to die.
Yeah.
I didn't have one, but anyway, so we've lived in some places.
Yeah, we both lived in third world countries for a small time.
For a couple of years, a couple of years of our lives. Anyway, so I was thinking about just kind of like tree-like redwood forest, large trees. There is a river next to Liafrith, and I was thinking about like trees lining that area, just a forest that have like bridges between parts, and obviously there's ground, but like it's safer to kind of live up.
Yeah. So would that
Kinda like Endor,
if they were
but,
living
like,
if they were
more-
living in these trees, like the Ewoks,
Yeah, essentially.
would they have
a lot more less.
would they have metal forges in the trees? That'd be interesting.
Out of trees? I've seen people make forges.
It'd be cool if they built the forge into the tree.
A petrified tree that they
Yeah,
turn into a forge.
that'd be cool.
In
That'd
the
be cool.
center, that is
Yeah.
like this. It's a hollowed out tree that's petrified rock. That the whole oh my gosh,
That's
this
cool.
sounds
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, and it just kind of like the chimney goes up through the tree where the branches used to be, and it's just like
So you
this-
can see like a huge plume of smoke from
And
like
they would
really
have, like,
far
a really
away.
cool
It's a
name.
recognizable landmark.
Yeah, like a
that's
really
where you
cool
go
name.
to get your.
But it's hard to get to. And if you get there,
yeah.
it's like you have to pay homage to
Yeah.
the orcs.
Yeah.
And I know it's like sounds funny, orcs living in trees, but not like huts like Ewoks, but really well-made wooden structures.
Almost like they've turned druidic.
Yeah, they kind of had to.
Yeah.
And I imagine
But
on the
they're
ground.
metal forging druidic like an orc.
Yeah.
They wouldn't go strictly druidic.
No, and they definitely have a lot of skins
yeah.
from like animals they've killed and
Yeah.
trophies. So the whole trees are lined with antlers and horns from beasts and heads, and I imagine the place being super tribal but very well made, much like a fort, but in the sky.
So
That's kind of what I was thinking when I looked at it. I was just now,
fort in the sky.
just like but I was like, but in trees, large branches that could hold up these structures.
Yeah.
So-
Really big.
Yeah, and then that giant forge petrified tree would be awesome.
Speaking of like beasts and stuff, I wonder what there would be here on the island. I would think that the island couldn't be too heavily inhabited. I mean, because everybody's killing each other. So
To a degree.
I think if the population was too high, the
would be
idea wouldn't be too realistic.
No. I would say that the orcs live in Liafrith, typically. I would say it used to be a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all these places used to be something.
Before it became.
It was an actual kingdom. I would say this
Yeah.
place maybe was owned by the elves.
Yeah.
But orcs hate elves, typically. And so I would say maybe the orcs invaded. That was part of the war that
Yeah.
veneration stopped, but the elves were gone by this point. They abandoned it because they were just like, this is too crazy. I'm spitballing here, but this
Yeah.
is kind of how I see it
Yeah.
occurring to be this orc land, because Leofrith is it sounds elvish almost.
So maybe these tree structures were created by the elves, and the orcs
They
decided to take
probably a garden that they were very proud of.
them. Yeah.
And then the orcs came and slaughtered a bunch of them, and there's a huge
Yeah.
war. And then maybe they came from like the south or the east.
It kind of makes me think of Aragon, like how the elves sing the trees into shape.
That's actually what I was going with. It's kind of like they grew so tall; they're the tallest in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's like redwoods, you know.
So I mean, really, they're living like inside the trees is like the trees grew that way because the elves encouraged
Because
them
they
to.
specifically sang them hollow in parts, and like I'd say like the main like hall for like the king of the elves was a massive like grouping of trees that kind of grew together that became hollow in one point, and the whole hall is just beautifully made. But now it's corrupted by
It'd be
these
cool.
orcs.
Yeah, I was thinking like corruption with like their forge.
Yeah,
Would-
the smoke maybe gets rid of a bunch of the leaves from
Yeah.
the trees, and most of them are dead, but they can't fall because they're so big and it's clustered together. Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. And maybe the river is just full of orcish boats and some kind of mercantilism where they take it from place to place on the river, which would be fun to ambush as a player.
Maybe they've poisoned the river with their industrial.
Totally. Yeah, the
Creations.
sloth from all those stuff. Yeah, and that would make a really fun, like, ambush a orcish trading vessel and take their weapons, which they probably make typical weapons for everybody because they're trying to sell them
Yeah.
and gain power.
Yeah.
So they probably have
They're
some-
trading for things that they
You could
need.
easily, as players, find your weapons and armor on this. It could be episode 2 or 3,
Right.
of playing,
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, what would their food supplies look like? They're probably not getting shipments from anywhere else
Lots
in
of
the world.
meat, lots of,
So they're slaying creatures and harvesting meat, and
and from other people.
so cannibalistic.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They're orcs. They
don't know.
just
Yeah.
don't care.
I'm talking about the whole island in general.
But we're talking. Okay, so the rest of the island.
Yeah, like what's the island doing for resource?
I imagine this place is, if it's very jungly, there's a lot of potential for farming.
Okay.
But that's like obviously swampy, but there's like some areas that they can make, different foods, and they trade what they get. So if the orcs want food, they got to trade with these people, or they'll just come
Yeah.
take it.
I would think maybe the idea of starting a farm would probably feel pretty feudal.
It probably does, except they probably have fortifications.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's say like the half orcs, because since they're kind of the stand up guys available.
Yeah.
Let's say that they built a community with walls of their own from forests and drain the swamplands a bit and have a fort. Much like in the early Americas, where they would come and they drain the swamplands and make little settlements.
Yeah.
I imagine they'd
When
have
everybody was
something-
dying.
Yeah, and I imagine it was like that.
Yeah.
Totally like that. That they kept sending more people and they were
Getting
able to,
weird fevers and
Yeah. So I feel like they could make something like that and have
Okay.
a bunch of farms that they've traded weapons for, but now the orcs realize their folly that they've given trade for food for weapons, but now they have people who have their weapons, so they can't just come in and take it.
Right.
They actually have to honor a trade.
yeah.
Because that would make a cool balance between, there's like this uneasy balance between a bunch of lizard folk and just like half orcs, half whatever that show up here. They kind of create. So maybe there's just two big societies and then a bunch of tribal dragonborn.
So yeah, so food, farming, agriculture
As much as
would
they
be behind a
can.
lot of the commerce. Fishing probably.
Definitely.
Although Leofrith, they've poisoned their rivers.
Yeah, you'd have to get it in the
So-
north or the south.
So they probably
Far
don't
away from
do
them.
any kind of agricultural anything. They just trade for what
and
they
then meat.
Yeah,
They probably do-
meat and trading for anything else.
The East Coast for them is all hunting grounds, and
Yeah.
I mean, if you find yourself there, probably not a ton of things to eat because there's just a bunch of orcs that are roaming the way to find anything that they can eat.
There's probably not any like other than like a small 1,000 size population government. There's probably not really any kind of
There's probably a chief, like a chieftain
yeah
of the
exactly
orcs,
yeah.
but like that's about it.
Just
And
whoever,
I think
whoever the strong man
there's no
is.
like elected official for the other races. They're just all living in this.
They're too small of
And then I think
groupings.
I would like different factions and different caves and different dungeons and towers that have been built. You know, things that have been there before.
Yeah.
That they kind of just like, we claim this area. So there'd be a lot of places to go and really just, you know, have fun.
Yeah.
Go take out a bandit camp.
Yeah.
And it's like an old tower that's crumbled and like the guy lives at the top and he thinks he's like some huge like demigod and he actually is like 8 feet tall human.
Yeah.
And, like, but like he got there because he's this massive
Half-orc
murderer.
necromancer.
Or like we talked about at the beginning, like a Joker type.
Yeah.
I imagine like he would live in like this crazy area to like the south that's like almost uninhabitable, but he somehow forged like a group of people that live there
Like,
that are all nuts.
Maybe tieflings probably too on the nose to assign that to, but
Not necessarily. I feel like there's tropes and then there's
what about like a psychotic orc? Like not even a half orc, but like a psychotic orc.
that kind of didn't fit in.
Yeah, just like a thin rail of an orc.
I was thinking thin as well.
Yeah.
Just someone that's like the brains,
Yeah.
but who's also crazy.
Yeah. Just,
I love it. No, let's do that. And
Yeah.
maybe his followers are just a mix, but like
Yeah.
they're just also equally crazy.
Yeah, and he just like does things so unexpectedly that people are like really afraid to even go near him.
But like he's super intense and like very charismatic, and people
Yeah.
are like, you know what? You can either be the goody guys, or you can be the crazy orcs, or you can join me, and it's fun. You know, let's make this island what it's meant to be. You know, like that type of dogma. You know.
yeah. Huh.
All right. I feel like this place is really coming together. I mean, is there anything else that you think that we could put into it right now? Obviously, there's so much, but what are some major points?
What would the climate be like? What would be? I mean, we talked about kind of Liafrith being foresty, you know, huge trees and
I'd
stuff.
say it'd be very dense, like very humid, very swampy.
Okay.
In the southern parts of it,
Okay.
maybe a bit rocky to the west, where all the Dragonborn have made settlements.
Okay. So it's got
Sharp rocks.
sort of-
Everything's uncomfortable there. It's like a bog.
So there's some pretty strong elevation differences then.
Diverse, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's got like it dips in the center, I imagine,
Okay.
and then the Kingdom of Shadow, like where the KI is basically like it's a tall mountainy area, and then everything towards Liafrith is like middle ground where it's just a bunch of trees and forest.
Okay.
And you think the orcs would want to live in the mountainy area, and they probably do.
Yeah.
They probably would love that, but they can't because they've got a bunch of Dragonborn to deal with, and let's say that maybe they don't take their weapons.
The
Maybe,
Dragonborn.
maybe
don't
they
take
make
them.
their weapons out of like Dragonborn and lizard folk. I imagine live there, and they make their weapons out of bones from great
Well, yeah.
creatures and beasts.
Dragonborn live with a weapon in their body.
I know they burn people or spit acid
Yeah,
or
the
lightning
breath.
or and I imagine they would be a freaking force.
And they
to be-
also live with armor on their bodies. Like
Yeah.
they're living weapons already.
yeah, I love the ingenuity of them. So I think that's a cool little thing there. That's what I feel like the whole place looks like. You know, it's just a mix of things, but it keeps it pretty open.
Yeah, there probably wouldn't be like factions. Probably not a
Semblance
whole
of
lot
factions, but more just like the 3 or 4 that we mentioned.
There's probably not going to be a whole lot of magical capability too. If people are being marked with the power word kill rune, they're probably also marked with the magic inhibition.
To a
rune.
point. I think to a point, absolutely. Obviously, like major ones like teleportation, things like that.
Yeah, things
turned
that'll get you off the
you know?
island, yeah.
But like as far as I think spells
Maybe
in general,
like anything over a 3rd or 2nd level spell or
Yes.
something like that.
I think anything over 3rd would be too much.
Yeah.
3 and up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the idea is that they can fight. They can use their weapon, their magic, and I feel like that's all over the world too.
Yeah.
Is everyone can use like 1 to 2 level spells,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you can't. Once you start getting the stronger spells, it's like
You're the rune that's on you.
unless you break it
inhibits
and
it.
find a way
Yeah,
to break it, then
exactly.
you are limited. Which would be fun for a character like
Yeah.
a wizard or a sorcerer to find a way to break it. That'd be
Yeah.
like their quest arc,
Right.
another story arc that creates this huge thing. So yeah.
Huh. Yeah, no, I like it.
Okay. Well, and then obviously there's a lot more that we could hash out, but I think between the things that we've mentioned, there's like one more land that we're really going to focus on.
We've got some more spots on the map that
But
we can hit.
I am going to definitely add some more variants.
This will add a lot of opportunity for lore too when we start thinking about how these kingdoms may have or do currently interact with each other.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a fun little thing to start to write some more. But that's why we did this, is to kind of flesh it out a bit more. And obviously the last one is going to be Edomar, the kingdom of Erlandin, which is highly elven. Different elves. There's sea elves, there's the regular wood elves, there's high elves. I mean, each live in different sections, and we're going to go over that next time.
Yep. Yeah. I personally, kind of a side note, but I kind of feel like when it comes to writing, I don't feel like you can do any story justice until you understand like
the world that it's lived in.
Power,
the history,
power, basically. Like
how
does power exist? Who holds it? Why do they hold it?
Yeah.
Like you can't create an arc until you understand those things. I feel like.
So I feel like when we started this, we went in a really good direction by saying veneration was this horrible thing that took over everything. But how?
Yeah.
Because he even didn't have power before. He had power.
And then we decided, the players probably want to interact with them, so we need to figure out what other power exists in the world.
Well, just like playing in a Lord of the Rings world, how often are you going to hang out with Sauron?
Yeah, right.
He may be a massive influence, humongous driving force, but you don't see him ever.
Right.
I doubt you would.
Yeah, and the best fantasy, I feel like they're all talking about the magic that exists in some way, or like whatever it is that causes power in that world. I feel like everything revolves around that.
Well, and I feel like also with, like you and I both read Aragon when we were growing up.
Yeah.
The book's pretty good.
Yeah.
Movie? Not even.
No,
there's no movie. There's no
it's
such
awful.
thing as the movie. It's Aragon. It has a name called Aragon. Not the same thing.
It's not the same story
But anyway,
at all.
when you're talking about the main bad guy, Galbatorix, he's just like this figure.
Yeah.
Even at the end, I mean, don't want to do spoilers, but even at the end of his situation, I mean, it's a book written by a 17, 18, 19-year-old, whatever.
Right. I think he was 14 when he wrote the first one.
You can pretty much guess what's going to happen. Good guy wins.
Right.
But like the main bad guy, he's just like this figure of
For most
pure
of the story,
evil.
yeah.
And at the very, very end,
They interact.
and which isn't very long, by the way, and kind of was super
It's like a
anticlimactic.
chapter or two. It's weird.
It was super anticlimactic. I didn't like it. But that being said, it was the thought of pure evil and pure power.
Power, yeah.
And like you were mentioning. And so I feel like with our story that we've come up with is that he is a position of pure power.
Yeah.
This world bends its knee on a daily basis with his dogma and his overpowering abilities, and no one even knows him.
Yeah.
That's how powerful he is.
Right.
He doesn't need a name.
Yeah.
The people that know him as veneration because they kind of like venerate him. They worship him.
Yeah.
They because if they don't,
Yeah.
and if they tell people about him, it's over for the city,
Yeah.
And I feel like we've created a pretty interesting world so far.
Yeah, there's going to be some good ways for these to interact. So
Yeah, whatever city you start in, whatever one you like the most, let us know. I definitely would like to see what kind of world you'd like us to develop more of, like what city, what area, because we can do that.
What would you guys want to play in out of everything that we've discussed? Like, what would you like to have your characters play in or play in yourselves?
I can just say to that question, yes. I want all of them.
Right.
Because we only have Edomar and Dagos left.
Yeah.
And then everything else we've completed and obviously I think next time we're going to cover both of those.
Yeah, probably.
Because we typically do like 1 to 2.
Yeah.
Typically. Last time we did just 1. This time we did just 1. But,
Yeah.
But and so look forward to that next week. And we got some stuff coming up, obviously, with our D&D channel and Natural One, our Patreon. Just keep an eye out. I'll keep announcing stuff. We'll keep doing stuff. But in the meantime, thank you so much for all your support. Like Patreon, I mean, the patrons, you guys are all amazing. The Silver Loot tier, I can't even imagine why you guys are there, but thank you. All of you guys. And you don't have to donate to be a fan or to enjoy our content.
Yep.
The fact that you are listening to us now, even if you're paying 0 cents, we appreciate even just you being here. A simple like or even just a view is for us just as valuable as someone giving us $1 million.
Just the fact that you're giving us your attention at all is it's huge.
Because we're just two guys that like nerd stuff, and we are pretty average at building some stuff. And I feel like we're doing pretty decent job. I'm pretty proud of what we've come up with so far.
And we're at least having fun.
Which is the most important part. But now we must go back to our simple lives, doing simple dad things, and that's about it. Now returning to Earth. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and as always, may your roles always be natural ones, just not natural ones. Farewell.